There are plenty of game series that get big in Japan, but never officially get released outside of the country. And the biggest of all of those series, the one that still tops Japanese sales charts when it gets a new release, is Momotarou Dentetsu. Not Momotarou Densetsu, that's a different series. In the 80s and 90s, Momotarou was basically Hudson's mascot. He originated in Japanese folklore, a child found inside of a peach who gathers some animal friends and kills an island full of ogres. Hudson turned that into an RPG on the Famicom, and that was an enormous hit for them at the exact same time they were releasing the PC Engine. And when I say exact same time, I mean within 3 days of each other. That game was Momotarou Densetsu. It seems like somebody misspelled something or made a typo, because Hudson latched onto the idea of Momotarou Dentetsu, or Momotarou Electric Railroad, and they released a game with that title at the end of 1988 on the Famicom. And that game was an enormous hit. And that brings me to Super Momotarou Dentetsu. It's effectively a sequel to that Famicom game. While it shares a lot of basic concepts with the original, there's also a ton of new things. It's the version that's one step beyond, or I guess super. Super Momotarou Dentetsu is a board game, and longtime viewers of this channel know what that means. It's time for a random stranger to explain board game design. Super Momotarou Dentetsu is a game in the style of Sugoroku. That's the Japanese term for the style of board game where you move a random number of spaces, and then a random event happens. And this event can help you or hinder you. In Sugoroku-based games, those random events are really what determines the outcome of the game. And in the worst Sugoroku games, there's no reason for you to be there as the player. You can turn on auto-fire on your controller, strap down a button with a rubber band, and the outcome is exactly the same as if you sat there pressing the button every time. Now, Momotarou Dentetsu isn't nearly that bad. There's actually some player choices. It is technically possible to attempt a strategy, but the choices here are generally pretty shallow, things where there's obviously better options than others, and the strategy will still be dependent on having a lot of luck. Your goal in Momotarou Dentetsu is to get the most money, and this comes in two forms: raw cash and property. When you start out, you're offered the choice of a beginner's game, which acts as a tutorial with 2 players, or to set up your own game with up to 4 players, any number of which can be controlled by the computer. The tutorial game has a length of 2 years, or 24 turns, while if you configure your own game, you can set it up to be as long as 9 years. Every turn occurs on a month, and on a turn you roll a die and move that many spaces. There's a few different types of spaces you can land on, most common of which are the color tiles. Blue tiles give you money, red tiles take money away, and yellow tiles give you a random card. Landing on a station or a city will let you buy property there, and landing on a space with a star on it will let you buy a card. Cards have all sorts of different effects. You can specify the outcome of your roll, get extra dice, move yourself or the players around, or summon the protagonist of the popular film A Taxing Woman to investigate your opponents for tax fraud. Most of the ways that you drive around Japan are on railroad tracks, but at ferry terminals you can cross over to the water. You're given a destination at the start of the game, and the first person to reach that city gets a large cash bonus. Then, after you've reached it, a new random city is selected as the destination, and everyone races to that one. One annoyance about this is that you have to move your full die roll. You can't stop in the middle of moving. So what happens is everyone races over to the city, and then drives back and forth in the general area until somebody finally rolls the correct number to land on it. Another aspect to somebody landing on the destination city is that the player the furthest away starts getting stalked by a god of poverty. If you're being followed by him, then at the end of your turn, he'll take a random action that affects you. You can pass him off to another player by passing that player on the tracks. Some of the effects of the god are having to answer trivia questions about the game, having some of your stuff randomly sold off, or you might just get a card. Sometimes there's even random events that just happen for no good reason. You could wind up getting cash paid out to you, or you could wind up losing several turns. It's all just random. On top of all of that, Momotarou Dentetsu is not scaled well as a board game. For example, in this game, our first destination city was Nagasaki. That's in the very, very southern end of Japan. Okay, Okinawa is also represented in the game, but they only have a train station there. You start in Tokyo, which is the center of the map, and so it took the equivalent of nearly a full game year for anyone to get close to Nagasaki. 1/5 of the game. And then I played a card that teleported everyone to the northern half of Japan. That's the kind of move that would get somebody to throw a punch in real life. So for this game that I set up to be 5 years long, which is the average game length, it took over half the game to get to one destination. As for purchasing properties at stations and cities, there is a little bit of strategy there. The percentage that you see by the property is how much money you'll get for it each year. In April, you get a bit of money for every property that you own, and if a property has a 50% payback, then those dividends or profits that you receive are half the price that you paid for it. If you ever run out of cash because of a bad event, then you'll be forced to sell off your property, and you only get half of the price that you paid originally for it. Also, if you control all of the properties in a station or city, then the payouts for those properties are doubled. There's one more thing that time affects in the game, and that's how much cash you gain or lose from the blue and red tiles. In the plentiful summer months, you gain more money from the blue, and in the dregs of winter, you lose more money at the red. As I mentioned, Momotarou is really Hudson's mascot at this point, so we're going to be seeing a lot of him before I'm done with the PC Engine. There's 6 Momotarou games on the platform, including another Super Momotarou Dentetsu. As you might expect for a game that has around 20 sequels, Super Momotarou Dentetsu is considered to be a classic in Japan. It doesn't seem to be anyone's favorite Momotarou Dentetsu game, but I did find plenty of people saying that it was better than the recent ones. And in case you couldn't tell, I don't like it. One of the most important things in game design is that you have to give players meaningful choices. Now this tends to not be a problem with video games, because you'll often be making important decisions dozens of times per second. As you slow games down though, it turns up more, particularly with strategy games, and especially with board games. If you give players 2 decisions, and the outcome of one is obviously good, and the outcome of the other is obviously bad, then there isn't really a decision. The best you get in Super Momotarou Dentetsu is deciding whether or not you want to purchase property, and deciding if you want to compete to be first in a city, or if you want to hold back and hope for a better destination to come up next. And even that second decision isn't a great one, since you get punished for not being close to the destination city. Super Momotarou Dentetsu isn't as bad as some other Sugoroku-based games that I've played, but that doesn't mean it's good.